a little bit later, but it lost. And what they're saying is just the hundreds of millions of dollars Monsanto flooded
PepsiCo, all
everything,
these companies.
just everything, all the money that they had, they just bombarded and blasted, and they believe that that's the only reason they won.
I read some of the ads that they put out against Prop 37, and for those of you listening out there today that don't know what Prop 37 is, no big deal, let us tell you. It's the name of the bill that they were attempting to make labeling GMO foods mandatory. And for many of you, if you don't listen to our show, we preach against GMO foods often. I mean, all the time. We're saying it's the scourge of humanity. It's going to just sterilize us.
And we have a lot of scientific studies that are coming out, both UK, France, and the United States, that are telling us this food is toxic. So you don't have to take my word. You don't have to take Michael's word. The evidence is there. You look it up yourself. It's there.
Without a doubt. And the concern, basically, we're operating from a consensus-based reality now. We're ignoring the fact. It's kind of like, it's gotten to the point that I hate my metaphor sometimes, but like if somebody was slamming our foot with a hammer, if we had enough opinion polls taken, we'd say, no, that doesn't hurt. And I'm screaming in agony, and it's like, no, actually, no, you're not. And then other people get their toes slammed by a hammer, and it's like, no, you don't feel any pain. You must have a disorder. Take some psych meds.
Here, I just pulled up the article from the Natural News. This was written Thursday, November 8th, and it was submitted by Ethan A. Huff, who's a staff writer. Total hypocrisy. Monsanto, agribusiness, and big food companies spent more than $45 million to kill costly Proposition 37 GMO labeling bill. I'm just going to read a little bit of this for you. Natural News, labeling genetically modified organisms, GMOs, is simply too costly, and any law requiring that GMOs be properly labeled will raise food prices significantly. Bah humbug. This was one of the many lies propagated by the biotechnology and technology and process with food industries. Hold on a second. We have a caller. This is wonderful. Good afternoon. This is the news. Hi, Dan. That's fine. Okay. Okay. That would be great. Okay, folks, we have Dan here on the phone. Dan, I've got to figure out how to get you turned on here. Let's see, these are different buttons. Yeah, I have to. I'm actually on air right now. Feedback. Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, Dan, are you with us? Are you with us, Dan? Oh, I can't hear you, Dan. Are you there?
Sorry, Caitlin.
I don't know where Dan is. Dan was with us for just a second, and now he's gone.
Crap, let me grab him on here.
Okay, folks. Dan had to call in. Dan Lozzi is going to be with us live in just a second here. Unfortunately, he called in about 10 minutes earlier than we were expecting him. And so now we're going to try to get him on the air.
Call back, Dan. Dan, call back.
Dan has to call back. Okay. But we are now going to get all set up for him to do that. I don't know. Do we have a little 2-minute break of something to run? Or?
Sure. Actually, we'll cut right to commercial.
That would be great.
You're listening to RiverWestRadio.com. Every day, people wake up all over the world and hear commercials like this one, with soft music and a soothing announcer's voice telling you how great some big corporation's new technology will help you and your family. But it is important to remember, these companies could give a flying fuck about you or your family. That's why Breaking Down the News has made this commercial to counter their commercials. Don't be fooled by them. The battle is to gain control of your mind through media propaganda. Just say no to evil corporations and their slick computer graphics designed to brainwash viewers. Vote no with your dollars, and we will regain the health of our nation, one consumer at a time. And we're back. Mr. Lawsey, are you with us?
Yeah, can you hear me okay, Michael?
We sure can. We sure can. It was funny.
Okay.
I stepped out to grab a cup of coffee, and sure enough, I had this premonition you were going to call early.
No, that's fine. I'll just warn you guys. We're in a car right now on the way to the show tonight in Springfield, Illinois. So if it seems a little loud, that's
you're,
for a reason.
you're coming through great, actually.
Okay, great.
Thanks for calling back, Dan.
No problem.
Not enough hands and too many buttons and things, too many cords.
Right.
So we got Dan Lawsey live. Where are you, in Illinois right now?
Yeah, we're going to be in Springfield tonight, and we're on our way now. We're like an hour away, and there's a show tonight at the Tin Can Pub. It's kind of like a warm-up for tomorrow night, the Milwaukee show tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. Wait, is it the 10th tomorrow already?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, apparently it's Friday the 9th. I read that when we started the show. It's just hard for me to believe that it's actually November of 2012. I'm in denial.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe it was only 2 weeks that we really talked to you, and now you're here. This is fabulous.
Right. And Caitlin, I'll say too, we've had that interview, the podcast, up on my website in the Live Journal, and a lot of people have been listening to it. And as I told you, if it's okay with you guys, I got my web design guy can get it as a like a YouTube video for people to listen to.
Whatever you gotta do, yeah.
We're set to go on this end, Dan. Everything's been approved.
Yeah, a little easier for me to spread it around that way.
Absolutely. So we'll be joining you tomorrow. For those of you guys who are listening to our show, we're going to be joining Dan there.
The Port of Hamburg.
And that will be, Dan, you're thinking the bands, we're thinking they start about 5 or so, and you're thinking you're going to be coming on probably somewhere closer to 7:30, 8:30?
Yeah, usually I'm a little more organized, guys. I apologize.
Oh, don't worry about it.
What it sounds like is it's going to start somewhere around 5 or 6. I'd say no later than 6. As of right now, I'm going on between the second and third band. But, I could get pushed back a little bit. Who knows? But, Zach is pretty organized, the guy running it. So I think he's saying, somewhere around like 7:20. That could turn into 7 or 7. It could turn into 7 or it could turn into 7:30. But somewhere around there, I would guess.
Okay, that sounds great. So, but you have your table up, and it will be there the whole time, so people can come over and talk, and there'll be other people. You're not the only person there. You have,
I have
some wonderful
I have
two.
I got 2 of my helpers. I got Andy Pelletier and Rick Brophy. They, if anyone's seen my YouTube videos, Rick's the guy who introduces me. A lot of the kids out in New Jersey and New York probably remember Andy. I brought him with me a bunch of times, and you guys can ask us questions. A lot of times it gets really loud, and I prefer to go outside to talk with people. That's fine, too. But people want to ask me questions, and I got lots of free pamphlets and stickers on my table.
That's great. Yeah, and I can't remember the name of the guy that owns that place, but they have that wonderful little fire pit area where they're having a nice toasty fire, and our weather's actually pretty mild right now, so it shouldn't be too bad of an evening to stand outside. Now, I was just letting people know that we were going to have you on the air a little bit earlier, and we know that you had told us that you like to let the events of the day kind of help steer you, and we were just talking about legalization of medical marijuana and some other things that happened, things that were on the vote or the ballots for people to vote on, and just wondering, Massachusetts had a few things going on.
Yeah, we had a few. We had actually one we had that is actually a little out of the ordinary. We had one, and I don't even know if I can even really explain it properly. Some type of law where the local car dealerships, like the big-time dealers, like the Toyotas and whatnot, I guess they've got kind of like a chokehold where they won't give like maintenance information to some of the smaller businesses. And so in other words, they try to get you to you have no choice but to go to the big dealerships and try to shut out some of the little guys. So they were trying to pass some type of law where it would stop these big dealerships from withholding information. And honestly, Caitlin, I don't even know how it went. I know how I voted on it, but I don't even know if it passed or not. But yeah, we had that. We had that one as well. So it might not be something you had in the other parts of the country, but we had that along with the other ones you had mentioned.
Yeah, we actually have had something like that here in play for a while.
Right.
That kind of large dealership used car sales thing happened
Right.
here probably about 15 years ago. It's pretty popular now. We were was
Right.
also covering a story about how some of the municipalities, the school districts, are very quietly adopting this program called Alice, where they're training people for how to deal with Columbine-like situations in the school, and they're training
Right.
staff, teachers, and students. That's not something that's come up here yet. Not to
Right.
say that it won't, but this is the first that we're hearing of it. It sounds like you're familiar with this program?
Not that specific program, but I keep my eye on that stuff because, I do talk a lot about school violence, but I also think that, I don't know, Caitlin, I know this is going to get into a whole other conversation, but I personally think some of that protocol, without knowing the specifics behind Alice, I disagree with a lot of that protocol because, for example, they have these lockdowns now when a kid comes in with a gun or makes a bomb threat. And I'm saying to myself, if there's a potential bomb that could go off in the school, why are you going to lock the kids in the school? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
some of these protocol, I just completely. I mean, I know of a school one time out here. They thought a kid might have put a bomb under some teacher's car or something, and the teachers are sticking their heads under the car looking for the bomb. And it's like it just becomes like a mob scene, I think, sometimes. And again, we can have all these laws and whatnot, but I'd rather get to the root of the problem, which we talked about last time, which is why is the kid bringing a gun to school in the first place? And I don't mean to get off topic. I know that probably didn't specifically answer your question.
Oh,
but,
no, that's fine.
I
Michael raised
know.
the same objections. I read a little farther into the story, and actually, I took away from the story that they're actually looking to almost kind of empower people. We just recently had the concealed carry law pass here in Wisconsin, and it was a very, very
Right.
heated debate. And I just think that the parallelism of what's going on with this Alice program covering, because it's not just Massachusetts, it's happening in other states and municipalities as well.
Right.
And now we have more states capitulating to this conceal and carry, and it almost sounded like they're saying, guys, if you end up shooting somebody because you happen to have a gun, we're not gonna, come down on you too hard. So to me,
Right.
but one of the the Canton superintendent was saying that one of the things that they wanted to do was empower the teachers and staff to make a decision to evacuate if they could get people out safely, to get them out of the
Right.
situation just as you stated, because the protocol was too limiting of the lockdown and
Right,
barricade
right,
yourself
right.
in. But I don't like the trend that it's almost as if they're giving kind of an unwritten permission to take the guy out.
Right. Well, you know what, Kate? This is what I think, Caitlin. It's always good to prepare and have safety precautions, but when something like that happens, I mean, everyone's going to do their own thing. You know that.
Sure.
I mean, I don't. I think there's so much protocol right now. There's so much just, man, like all these just rules and it's like with the hurricane. I mean, you guys asked about the hurricane. Just so you know, too, New Jersey and New York got slammed with that thing, but it was mostly rain in Massachusetts, as I predicted. But it's like they get all these evacuations and this and that, and it's like, man, it gets to a point where you're crying wolf. And one of these days, they're going to tell everyone to evacuate, and they're not going to do it because they're so used to hearing it. And I don't know. Caitlin, I'll give you another example. Now it's like I remember. I don't know what happens out there, but back in the old days, if someone slammed into a tree on the side of the road, the policeman would direct the traffic around the tree. It's like now they shut the whole road down.
Yes.
When there's no need to. I mean, the protocol, and it all comes from September 11th, and it's like I said last time, we could talk about conspiracy theories, this, that, and the other thing, but to me, I mean, more than anything else, it makes money for people. I mean, I talked about how if you're in the security industry or you run a security consulting firm or you're into the surveillance camera industry, I mean, after September 11th, you were rolling in money. I mean, this is a billion-dollar industry now.
Absolutely.
So, again, I know some of my answers might get a little off the beaten path or not even completely answer specifically what it is you're asking me. But,
that's okay.
again, I think that's what kind of makes my organization a little unique sets me apart from some of the others.
Well, some people were a little bit outraged about how that whole hurricane situation was handled, and
Right.
it was slipped into President Obama very quietly right before that hit the shore, signed an
Right.
executive order establishing what's called the White House Homeland Security Partnership Council. I don't know
Right.
if you had heard about this.
Yes, I've heard of it.
Well, apparently he passed it. I don't know if anybody else heard of it because I just happened across it incidentally. Michael, had you heard about this?
Refresh my memory.
It is the policy where now the White House Homeland Security Office is going to be partnering with local offices and businesses, and it's just a way to be able to get more information.
Have you heard of InfraGard? InfraGard. InfraGard it's said that there's 50,000 corporate executives in America that are working with the FBI. They have a gun specifically locked in their office just in case that we have some sort of pandemonium or breakdown. These guys are already signed, sealed, and carrying weapons they're authorized to kill if they have to.
Oh, my goodness.
Look up INFRA Guard, InfraGard.
Wow. Let me just read a sentence that kind of sums up what they say is the whole point of this policy. The purpose of this order is to maximize the federal government's ability to develop local partnerships in the United States to support homeland security priorities. Partnerships are collaborative working relationships in which the goals, structure, and roles and responsibilities of the relationships are mutually determined. Collaboration enables the federal government and its partners to use resources more effectively. That's
More effectively.
yeah, that's just insane. To me, that just sounds insane.
Well, Caitlin, like I said, I mean, to re-emphasize again, people can find this information now. They can research. They can spread it to their friends. And like I said before, in the 2 weeks that I've talked to you, I've already seen the Jersey Shore cast on just about every one of those daytime programs that I mentioned before.
Really?
And this is what people care about. This is the big news, not the topics you're talking about. And you know what, Caitlin, to get into I think this is kind of a related topic. Something I want to make sure I bring up before I get off here. Again, maybe a little off topic, but definitely something that you might find interesting. I don't know if any of you guys caught the night before the election. I don't know if it was World Nightly News or World News Tonight, one of those network news stations. Whoever the host is, he sits down in a room with Barack Obama and Mitt Romney separately, and he says to them, "Do you know why the country is so decisive, so split in half?" I mean, he says, we're like in a paper civil war right now, which makes it easy for these weird laws to get passed where these people can carry and do whatever. But anyway, he says, they give these elaborate answers, and I'm saying to myself, why wouldn't the country be split in half? You only have two choices.
Right.
It's either going to split in half or the majority is going to run to one and edge out the other. It's one of two things. So, I mean, how that relates to what you guys are bringing up is just the fact that how do you ask a question like that? And to me, these are even if you don't like Romney or Obama or this host, there's still three intelligent people. And it's like, only in America could you ask a question like that and give some elaborate answer that has nothing to do with why it's actually happening. I mean, we talked so much about this last time. It's the herd. It's the, people like
The herd mentality.
The loving mentality, So,
You had such a good example when you were talking about how you chose to go through the other line for the security search at the airport, and that's just a beautiful example of what you're talking about.
Right.
So why don't you, take the stage here and just say whatever you want?
Okay, well,
run wild.
Caitlin, I'll do that, and then I will wrap this up because, like I said, we're on the way. I got to kind of help these guys navigate a little bit, and we're almost in Illinois. But long story short, if you missed my interview a couple weeks ago, I run the Outlook program to stop abuse out of Massachusetts. I speak all over the country. I'm just doing a couple shows tonight in Springfield, Illinois at the Tin Can Pub. It starts around 6, I believe. Tomorrow night, same deal, around 6 at O'Keefe's Port of Hamburg in Milwaukee. I guess I go around sometime between 7 and 7:30. Like I said, I can hang out by that fire pit with you guys and chat and meet people. I'll have my table set up. Come check it out. If you listen to the show and found out about me here, let me know. If you come tomorrow night, come talk to me. No More Victims will be there too at both shows. They're another activist group out of Illinois, and my website is www.theoutlookspeaks.org. That's ORG, and I got again, we did that interview a couple weeks ago. I got it on my LiveJournal link, and we're gonna make a YouTube video out of it with like a still shot with all our websites, the breaking down the news site, my site, and that'll help me spread it a little better. But I hope to meet everyone tomorrow night. I know it'll be a big show, and Caitlin and Michael, I hope to meet you guys too tomorrow night, and it should be fun. I'll stay till the end of the show, but then after we gotta kind of head back to Massachusetts because these guys I got with me gonna be at work Monday. I took the week off, but I gotta get these guys back. So that's about it. Hopefully, I'll see everyone tomorrow night.
Good luck, Dan.
Sounds great, Dan.
Awesome.
We'll see you then.
Great. All right, Caitlin. Well, I'll let you guys go, and Caitlin, maybe I'll call you guys to check in tomorrow. But either way, I'll see you tomorrow night.
Absolutely, that'd be great. And we look forward to hearing from you, and we'll see you tomorrow. And hopefully a lot of people will come.
Great. You guys take it easy. I'm going to hang up now, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Thanks so
All
much.
right.
That was Dan Lozzi.
Okay.
We'll see you tomorrow,
Okay,
Dan.
bye.
Bye,
Okay,
Dan.
bye. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
And there you go. We had Dan. That's great. That's going to be quite an event. I encourage anybody to show up and come check him out. He's awesome. And the show is a good benefit. It's going to Health and Hunger. What's the name of that? The Hunger Drive? Some sort of hunger drive.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of things going on. I didn't realize that other group was coming from Illinois with him. So sounds like that's going to be the place to be tomorrow if you want to find out stuff about anything, pretty much. So we'll talk a little bit more about that little surprise bill that Obama signed while we weren't watching because we were looking at all the pretty pictures and lights flashing on the weather maps. When Dan just called a little bit ago, I was in the middle of reading this explanation of why Prop 37 didn't pass. I think maybe what I'll do is finish that, and maybe we'll take a little break and come back with some information about Obama. We'll talk about the the head of the CIA retiring, or actually resigning today.
Right.
Wow, a lot more news here, folks. Let me just wrap up before we take a break with the rest of this article from Natural News. Again, we were talking about Monsanto and just all the hugely, grotesquely huge companies trying to stop this bill. And as I was saying, they're saying that the labeling of GMOs is going to be simply too costly. That's their argument, that any law requiring GMOs be properly labeled will raise food prices significantly. This is one of the many lies propagated by the biotechnology and processed food industries in the months and weeks leading up to the vote on Proposition 37 in California. The historic GMO labeling initiative that was defeated in large part due to the more than $45 million that Monsanto, Dow, Kraft Foods, and dozens of other industry players hypocritically pumped into the fraudulent no on the 37 campaign during the final hour. And we've seen that happen before, where people have been confused about whether to answer yes or no on propositions. For the past few weeks, Californians have had to endure a seemingly endless barrage of misleading television commercials and phony voter guide mailers urging them to vote against the labeling proposal because it would allegedly cost taxpayers and consumers millions, to quote California family farmer Ted Sheely, who was prominently featured in a no on the 37 propaganda commercial that aired throughout the state. The same commercial, along with several others, also claimed that GMO labeling would increase grocery bills by about $4 $100 per year for the average California family. I think that would have gotten my attention too.
Yeah, don't let us warn you about poisons, otherwise we'll have to up your food bills, which you're going to get upped anyhow, no matter what, you know.
Such claims are bald-faced lies, of course, as food manufacturers change their labels constantly without issue. And that's true. We see them repackage themselves and reinvent themselves every couple of years. Not to mention the fact that the supposed Prop 37 economic impact study, from which many of these bogus claims and figures were pulled, is nothing but fabricated, industry-backed nonsense. Even so, these nonstop lies were apparently enough to close the gap on an earlier 2-1 lead in favor of the bill. The Los Angeles Times reported back in September that 61% of registered voters were supporting Proposition 37, while only 25% opposed it. So what happened to cause the bill eventually to fall in the 11th hour? Nearly $50 million in lobbying funds is what happened. In a demonstration of sheer irony and hypocrisy, the same companies that have been complaining about the supposed food cost increases from GMO labeling are the very ones that spent tens of billions of dollars making sure the GMO labeling bill did not pass. And in the end, the GMO cartel got what its wish, and at least in the short term. The good news is, however, that more than 4.2 million Californians saw through the lies of Monsanto and voted in favor of Prop 37 despite the propaganda campaign and the long-term momentum the Yes on 37 campaign generated about the presence of GMOs in the food supply means it is only a matter of time before GMOs are eventually on the radar of all Americans.
This is the end. All right, we're going to be right back, taking a short break. Stay tuned. You're listening to RiverWestRadio.com. The TSA has consistently made the news with bad reports about its moral conduct, questionable employees, civil rights violations, everything from workers stealing cash out of travelers' luggage to trafficking drugs through airport security gates. Congresswoman Blackburn recently brought to the news media an awareness of the TSA's hiring of known child molesters and child porn collectors. My question is, why are we putting up with this? Why have we become so tolerant of being peasant slaves that we will acquiesce to anything? I've come to the DFW International Airport outside Dallas, Texas, to ask some questions of ordinary passengers and to interview the TSA workers themselves. Let's go in and see what they have to say.
I don't like what I have to put up with every time I fly.
Ted Wilsonberg travels by plane frequently and has to get groped on a regular basis. But does he have to put up with this?
No. Hell no. I'd keep these guys out of here if I could.
So you don't think that we need to be molested in the interest of national security?
No. Think about it. A police officer can't just come up and put their hands in your crotch. But these guys feel me up every time I pass through these gates.
But why do you put up with it?
I have to do this. My job depends that I fly 3 to 4 times a week. I have a family, you know?
The TSA stands for total suckasses when it comes to trampling on the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. How do they get away with it? I asked the director of security here at the airport at Dallas-Fort Worth. Yeah, well, when you pass through them doors, them front doors of this airport, you're no longer in America, boy. You're now in international territory bound by international law. And that's the great secret. The Constitution of the United States does not apply in its airports. Since September 11th, 2001, the Bill of Rights has been circumvented because of the threat of terrorism, when in actuality, you're more likely to die from a bee sting or be struck by lightning than actually be affected by terrorists.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Time with 2 little girls.
Every day, our senses are being constantly bombarded by subliminal messages that are found in TV, movies, and advertisements. The subliminal messages we are subjected to are unrecognizable by the conscious mind and only recognizable in our subconscious mind. The messages and imagery are passively absorbed and then stored in our subconscious, where propagandists deliberately implant artificial thoughts, which in turn can affect our actions and attitudes later in life.
And now, live from River West Radio, the man with words worth listening to, your host, Michael Wordsworth.
And we're back. Man, and those 4-minute sets, it's incredible. I mean, it really is. All right, well, we're going to have Mary calling in here. She's straight from Ireland. She's going to give us her views on our recent re-election of Barack Obama, the state of the EU.
Yeah, what this whole story is about, Britain threatening to pull out and what that actually means. And she could probably tell us a few interesting details about Hillary Clinton. You know, the Irish people are big fans of the Clintons in general. But she might be able to give us a different perspective on Hillary's work overseas.
Well, speaking of which, Clinton is due to step down probably days after inauguration.
Right.
Hillary Clinton still intends to step down as Secretary of State. That will take place likely days after President Barack Obama's second inauguration in January. This quote, the Secretary has been honored to serve as President Obama's Secretary of State and has loved every minute of leading this department and being part of the state family. A Clinton spokesman said in an email. To continue with the quote, but yes, you can confirm yet again that she's been clear about her intention to leave after the first term. Well, when first asked for clarification on what date Clinton would step down, the spokesman Philip Rines says she has said that she wants to ensure continuity and realizes the confirmation of her successor might take a period of days beyond that. Whatever that means, right?
Is it working?
Yeah, okay. We got ringers all on. We're waiting for Mary to call in here.
Okay.
And
we will talk about the director of the CIA retiring. I know Michael has an actual story. I just heard, oh, wait a minute. Saved by the bell.
Mary, are you there?
I am. Hello, Michael.
Oh, great,
Hi, Mary.
great. Straight from Ireland.
Hi, Caitlin. Hello.
Excellent.
Are we on the air?
You bet we are.
Is there a delay on the line?
About 10 seconds.
Oh, dear. That always makes it difficult. But first of all, can I just say, on behalf of everybody I know in Ireland, congratulations on the re-election of President Obama.
Well, thank you. Some of us did absolutely breathe a sigh of relief.
I am totally relieved. I thought that the demographic breakdown of the vote was very interesting because I got the impression that Romney would do well amongst Hispanics, and that wasn't true. And if you look through down, our newspapers had the breakdown, 57% of white men voted for Obama as opposed, voted for Romney as opposed to 39%, I think, for Obama. And we never got demographics before over here, so it was fascinating.
Yeah, they say that's one of the things that's almost historic about Obama's presidency is that he has been able to get areas of blocks of voters that normally wouldn't vote or would not vote in numbers to come out. And of course, they're quoting the black population, women, Hispanics, and other minorities. I can understand why you might have thought that or been misled into thinking that Romney was popular with Hispanics, but there was a kind of surprise cell phone video that went viral here of him really saying some things that were highly inappropriate about how it would have been great if he had been born from Mexican parents instead of just born in Mexico, that he would have cinched the presidency. And there was quite a bit of, oh yes, there was quite a bit of reaction from the Latino community. A lot of comedians and actors just said, we're a little smarter than that, Mr. Romney.
Mary,
well, I never heard that story at all. That's news to me.
Mary, I'm curious, why are you happy that Barack Obama got reelected?
Well, I'll tell you, I have to say that it is with reservations, because of the things he said he was going to do, and that would mainly be, for me, Guantanamo and rendition, which Ireland has participated in through Shannon Airport. And the Irish government has been reimbursed for the usage of Shannon Airport for rendition, and that still goes on. But I would have, I voted for him the first time as well. I didn't get my absentee Wisconsin ballot this year, unfortunately, so I wasn't able to vote, and I was very worried because of Wisconsin being the swing state, and Paul Ryan and all of that sort of thing. So I was relieved because, Romney, and it was said by the mainstream media, was talking as if he belonged to the 50s. And I think it can finally be said. The old expression, old white men rule. Well, they don't anymore.
Apparently not.
Not in, it's just, that is hugely significant because Romney was an old white man. And Obama is a young black man. 50 is still young.
Yes, he's the third youngest president of the United States, actually.
Right.
He's only a year behind Clinton.
Well, I'm just curious, once the old white men are gone, who's going to pay for the welfare in this country? No, I'm just saying.
Well,
do you think the welfare recipients are going to pay for
welfare.
it? Okay, go ahead.
They're going to be taxing that 1%, first of all.
Hope so.
Now, I don't know how many people are in that 1%, and then they're going to be taxing the people who are making, as they should do in Ireland as well, they should be taxing, I would say, people who make over $500,000. In Ireland, they're talking about taxing people higher at 250,000
That sounds more reasonable.
euros. Sorry?
That sounds more reasonable here. $250,000. I think it shouldn't be at $500,000. I think it should be at $250,000. That's an obscene amount of money.
So then we'll have 99% of the country on welfare and 1% of the country paying for it? That
No, it won't work like that. It won't work
but
like that.
But they could.
Well, there'll be no choice. There won't be any more jobs, no more small businesses, no more manufacturing. So
because of Obama.
Just the general tide things are turning. Even Homeland Security, as Michael was giving us an example of some people he's aware of that were trying to create a business. And Homeland Security is a great one for having things stuck at customs and maybe not appearing for months or years. And consequently, a business can go broke while they're waiting for their products to come from China or somewhere else. And it feels... And it seems, for all intents and purposes, as if this is some kind of blockade that is maybe paid off by corporate businesses.
Well, the whole economics is a different story altogether in terms of what any president has the power to do. And if you're going to talk about the economics, then you can't fail to talk about what I think he was an independent, Ron Paul, talked about and was interviewed on a documentary by Aaron Russo that you might have seen.
I did before he died.
Years ago. Sorry?
Aaron Russo
Yeah, that's
passed
right.
away.
Aaron Russo died, yeah.
Cancer.
I only heard that recently. But the Ron Paul was talking about the Federal Reserve, and until the Federal Reserve is abolished and the government prints its own money, which is the only way it's going to work, and the interest and the corruption in the Federal Reserve won't be there anymore. But when that's going to happen, I don't know. But until then, nobody who is in the presidency is going to be able to sort out the economics. And, I mean, that goes then again to what we were talking about on the solstice in September about the Federal Reserve, the bungling that has gone on there. And the disappearance of Ron Paul, because I heard that when he went to the Florida convention, his votes were not counted. He was taken away from the outside of the convention hall and wasn't allowed to register his votes. Now, I don't know the legality of it, but that's what happened to Ron Paul, and he was on about the Federal Reserve. And his son is still in Congress, isn't he?
Yes, Rand is still there, I believe.
And I mean, I've been studying conspiracies ever since 1963, and I thought I knew everything about the Kennedy conspiracy until recently on alternative television here in Europe. I saw a speech that must have been early in his administration, because I never heard it before, and it was when I was still in school. And he talked about secret handshakes and secret organizations. And this was a reference to whatever we want to call the Illuminati or the Skull and Bones or the New World Order. And it was, one of his speeches to Congress. Now, I knew nothing about that until last year. And the other thing he did, which contributed to his assassination, was the fact that he, as president, started to print the money and not have the Federal Reserve do it, which was another motive for the assassination of the president.
Yes.
So, I mean, when you talk about economies, whether it's Greece, Italy, Spain, we're all tied up into the IMF and the World Bank, and for us, we're tied up as well to the European Central Bank. And as far as Britain and the whole, what they're talking about leaving the European Union, they may well do. And Britain and Ireland may have a very unusual financial arrangement of one currency. That's been talked about. But it's too hard to see that far into the future. But that's where the EU is in terms. I don't think there is a bigger threat to America financially or economically as American people think they are.
That's interesting. So you're saying that Britain and Ireland would trade in a script that goes just between the two countries?
Yeah, it's quite possible. Just as we could go back to our own currency again. Britain still have their currency. Northern Ireland have their currency. And, we have the euro. But we could go back to what the punt was. That's what they called the Irish dollar or pound or whatever, the PUNT. And that was before the euro came in. So we could go back to that. Yeah, it won't be the end of the world.
Is that something that's on the horizon? I mean, is that something that people in Ireland are talking about?
It's put out there as a possibility in news commentary.
Sure.
Never been said by the government, by either government. But, it could happen.
And how devastating to go away from the euro would that be to Ireland, do you think? Would it be a boom?
Well, there's an economist here in Ireland who is now a member of the government, Stephen. You wouldn't know his name anyway, but he's new, and he went to the Kennedy School of Economics in Boston, or is it Harvard? I don't know. He's in his 30s. And he was saying that we could suspend our debt, just not pay the next payment. That's one possibility. But he's come from the Kennedy School of Economics. So to me, he's got as good an education as somebody, say, from the London School of Economics. And he said those are all possibilities. It's not the end of the world. The sky is not going to fall in. at least not from the economy, maybe from chemtrails
Yeah.
and December 21st, but the sky's not going to fall in if the euro fails.
That's interesting. So Ireland
Yeah.
and Britain are actually probably in a stronger position than
Yes.
other countries are. Certainly Germany and France are so committed that this would be
That's right.
bad for them, but not for
That's
you
right.
guys. What about, and Scotland would go, I suppose, the same as England
They
then.
would. I mean, Scotland and Wales would have to go with England.
Okay, interesting.
You know, so I mean, it's just there certainly isn't any reason it couldn't be done. But the death of the euro for Ireland would not be a calamity. There are enough, economists here that are free thinkers and not bound into PR or spin, that will say things like that. But I was watching the commentary on the resignation of General Petraeus.
Yes, we were just promising our listeners that we would cover that in a little bit.
Okay, so that was interesting and many spins on it. I have no idea what's going on there.
Oh,
But I just,
I'd be more than happy to. I actually saw the original announcement as it was on NBC, and one of their older people was actually given a copy of the letter that the general gave to everybody in the CIA office at about the same time, about 1 o'clock this afternoon Central Standard. He submitted a letter basically saying that he was resigning, and it was because of his affair, basically, because of his bad behavior and poor judgment, and how could he stand up there and be a model for others and a leader when he had such poor moral and ethical conduct in his personal life. So he thanked the president for graciously accepting his resignation, and that was the end of that. And they have somebody else in play. His name is Michael something. I didn't catch
Morrell.
Yeah, he's the
Morrell.
deputy. Yeah, the deputy. Well, it's just an interesting story, and you like to, keep an eye on the spin. So I've seen CNN and Fox, but there's a program, I don't know if any of your listeners or your viewers get. It's on Fox News at 5 o'clock, and it's called The Five. And there are 4 right-wing conservative Republican presenters, one being Dana Perino, who is from she was his press secretary for years. But there's 4 of these these radical right, and there's one good guy whose name is Bob Beckel. I don't know if any of you have heard of him.
I haven't, but I believe the program is on cable, because I think I've seen a couple minutes of it at someone else's home. But she was fired, wasn't she? Wasn't she fired kind of?
No, I don't think so. Oh, no,
Okay.
she's still the cutie pie, the pussycat of the Republicans.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, but it's just, they've been talking down Obama for 2 years now, and they had to eat humble pie on Wednesday. I get them at 10 o'clock at night. And it was just great because Bob Beckel fights his own corner. Now, he's well able. He used to play football. And his father was in the civil rights movement, so he must be maybe 50-ish, And he worked in Democratic jobs in every way. He was in the State Department. Anyway, he's quite a character, a reformed alcoholic, openly so. And he has just put up with the awful things that have been said about Obama. And these 4, and the women are so disappointing as journalists, because 2 of them are sort of these, well, one I call she's a shark. These are petulant, really small-minded women that you just wonder what they're doing on a major program like this.
They have good haircuts.
Well, yeah, exactly. And then
That's
there's a guy
about
named Greg Gutfeld, who I call Skippy. He's sort of a nerdy guy. And it's just, you have to put up with it. But to see Bob Beckel hold his own as a good old lefty is worth a look in. That's all I'm saying. If you can stand all the other shite with it. Pardon me.
Yep. It's kind of an interesting irony, too, that now that Obama's been reelected, that gives all these show hosts on the conservative side that increases their audience because now they can complain, and of course, you
That's
know,
right.
it's kind of a
That's
weird irony. Whereas if Romney would have got in office, who would they complain about? Romney? No, they can't.
You're right.
So I
You're
mean, it's for their
absolutely right.
careers. That's a good move, but
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they really want. You know, it's how bizarre. What a world we live in.
I know.
And,
You know, I don't know. I don't know if I've ever heard your voice on radio before, or you must sound like some other presenter, Michael. I know Caitlin's voice, but yours sounds is. I don't know. Are you from Milwaukee as well?
Yes, I moved away. I've been through different parts of the country, especially when I was in the military. So you kind of get your dialect a little screwed up from here and there.
Well, actually, it's not your dialect at all. It's just that your tone of voice sounds familiar to me. I've been
Yes.
trying to figure it out.
Do I sound like a
that'll-
conservative or a liberal to you? That's what I'm just
You
curious.
sound like a Michael.
Well, no. I mean, I try to, you know, it's kind of weird. I'm neither a conservative nor a liberal. I can't even fit myself into those categories.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. You don't have to. As long as you're a free thinker, that's the only thing.
For now.
That's all we've got.
I know what you're saying, though, Mary. He has a voice that's reminiscent of some program. I think we're thinking of the old WOKY. There was a.
Do you think so?
I think so. I think, cause,
Right.
yeah, I recognize the same voice too, but I can't put a name
Shop
to it.
at Gimbals. The Brewers are playing later. A new law says that women now must wear hats and gloves when going shopping at the Grand Avenue Mall. Don't get
Is
caught.
Gimbal still there?
No, it's been gone like the dinosaur.
About a decade at least.
At least. I mean, it's amazing. There's been so many changes. You can still look at old photographs of Milwaukee, and Gimbals was the deal there in the day. My grandmother said you would not even think about going down to Gimbals without gloves when she went. You had to
Of
wear your
course,
gloves.
and a hat.
And a hat.
I had an aunt just like that.
Interesting.
So I think that's Milwaukee and Chicago style as well.
Well,
Most
it's
likely.
cold, so I don't blame them. Gloves and a hat, out of all the fashions, that's not a bad one.
That's true enough. I just want to say hello to everybody in Milwaukee while we're speaking. I look for news from Milwaukee. I'm always looking for some good news. I know that things didn't go well in Madison when the recall happened, and that was a bit of a surprise. Did the teachers' strike get settled in Chicago?
It got settled. They were not able to agree on everything, but I think at some point I know they had reached at least 50% agreement. It was interesting because the story that was coming from the woman that was representing the teachers was so different than from what reporters were stating were the announcements from the government there, because the guy from the government had said that they differed on just countless points in the contract, and the lady from the union said that they only had 2 or 3 issues that they were having problems with, but they were in agreement with all the others. And so with that kind of absolute disagreement on what they don't agree on, wait a minute, that was a double negative.
Well, no, they agree to disagree. You can do that, you know.
I don't think they agreed to disagree.
But that would be a typical. That was the department's view, right?
Right. Chicago's.
And the union teacher view was that there were a few matters, right?
Just 2 or 3. She was very specific.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's use this as an example of, at face value, what are we going to take from it? And I think, you know, listening and knowing where the power is, and knowing that the Chicago teachers have not been on strike in 25 years, I heard on CBS.
Yes.
Which is phenomenal when you consider the pressures of the Chicago public school system and the demographics. So, I mean, I would take that to believe the teachers.
I would too. I absolutely
I mean,
would.
that, you know, those are the kind of things we haven't got time to do except use the knowledge that we have. And the other thing that's been important lately, and I've heard it a few times, is, you know, we are tending to live in our own little boxes with the reality that we create. And doesn't matter whether we use labels, as Michael said, as conservatives or liberals. It's a matter of finding out what is the truth and what we can come to know, not what we can come to believe, but what knowledge we can have. And the more knowledge we have about the press and the control that it has, and the alternative media will always be there because they won't be allowed on the main media, that we've got to sift for information as best we can.
Yes, you're right. It's very difficult. You can't just stop at the first thing you come across. And I
Right.
talked to folks today even, and a lot of people. I tried to talk to them about chemtrails, and the response that I'm getting is, "Oh, well, you can't believe what's on the internet." And I thought, well, that's interesting. Go to NASA website. You don't believe NASA? Okay. Go to
Exactly.
the Irish Times and look at about October 12th and see what the lady from the Green Party in Sweden who was running for office was stating. So it's interesting. Yeah, it depends on what you want to talk about, but people
Well,
shut you
that's
down.
true. And, when Romney said 47% of the people consider themselves to be victims, and earlier in the year, in
outrageous.
fact, last winter, I met 4 Americans in County Wicklow, where I live, and I thought I'd take a chance and just ask them, and all I said to them was, "What do you think about the election in November?" And without mentioning any party, a woman piped up. Now, they were from Tennessee and Kentucky, but they weren't Southerners. They had moved south. And one of the women piped up. She'd be in her 40s, and she said, "Half of the people in this country don't want to work." And I didn't say anything because, what would you say to that?
Sure.
And her husband then said something to the effect, "Well, honey, it's not really half the people. It's like the people on welfare and the people on this and that and the other." But that was her first answer to me, that she thinks she lives in the country where half of the people don't want to work. And I met an American I've known quite well for a good many years, but just as an international kind of friendship. And she said to me about 2 years ago, now we'd all had a few drinks, but she started to cry, and I thought, God, what's wrong? And you know what she was crying about? She was crying because in the state where she lives, foreign nationals or foreigners or whoever you want to call them had gotten more scholarships than her white middle-class daughter, because they were either Hispanic or black or whatever they were in her state. I don't want to mention the state, but it wasn't Wisconsin. But she was crying because her taxes, and she didn't work. Her husband worked, but she never worked. Her taxes were going to give scholarships to people who were from disadvantaged backgrounds, and her middle-class daughter with a secure middle-class background didn't get one.
Wow.
And I said to her, "Why don't you move?" I couldn't think of anything else to say. And it was getting late at night, and I don't drink that much, but, she was well in her cups, as they say. And then we changed the subject because, that's her vision of it. That's her paradigm, that she's the victim.
Wow, that's a very interesting idea.
And these are random conversations, Caitlin.
And I think it's interesting, too, because when you look at international studies that are done, they look to Americans as working more hours, taking less medication time than any other country in the world, and yet they're turning around and saying that we don't want to work. I don't think I've met harder working people, really.
Well, there are people working 3 jobs now in America, as you well know, and still not making ends meet. And people were better off in the 70s financially than they are now.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, statistically, if you go through all the ramifications of it. So it's a desperate time. And what's going on in New Jersey is just, one more sadness upon another sadness. I don't know if it was nature. It makes you wonder about the place in Alaska called HAARP, H-A-A-R-P. Are you familiar with that weather station?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not.
So you know the power that has, Michael.
Sure, it's just one of many located, but that's one of the more popular, well-known stations.
Well, that's the only one I've read about.
I wish I could tell you where the other ones are located, but indeed there are more than that one.
Well, there are meant to be some in England. I've seen on some of the alternative media here. There are meant to be some under the sea.
Oh, wow.
You know, there have been under the sea. I mean, I'm only telling you what I hear on
Under
the
the
programs.
sea.
Yes,
Under the sea. Down it's better, down where it's wetter. Believe you and me. We got the harp down there, huh? That's crazy.
Or you could say from James Joyce Ulysses, into the snot green sea.
Yes. Okay.
Hope that doesn't shock anybody in Milwaukee now.
No, I don't think it
It's
will.
hard to shock us anymore.
How are we for time?
Oh, we got another. Oh,
About 10 minutes, I'd say.
sure.
Right. I want to let you know that people here thought that Romney's concession speech was most gracious, and some people thought it was the best speech he ever made. So,
That's great.
I'm serious. And I
Good
thought
for him.
I thought that Obama's speech was wonderful. I mean, it was like he was alive again. You know,
I didn't
whatever.
hear either.
Well, whatever placebo, placebo pills that have no effect. But
Absolutely.
I mean, and this Bob Beckel that I'm telling you about in the 5, he predicted the Electoral College closer than anybody else.
Wow.
He also predicted Obama by 2%, and he predicted a lot of the demographics as well. So the guy was spot on.
Wow. And I'm sure
and that
everybody's
fool,
hating
Dick
it.
Morris. Did you see Dick Morris?
No, I did not.
Well, he predicted a Romney landslide. There's one born every day.
I guess so. At least we know where he is and what his name is.
That's right. And I don't know what you thought about Paul Ryan, but we got the news about when he sort of elaborated the story about his marathon run.
I'm not familiar with that story.
Oh, well, this was early in the campaign. He had run some marathon in Wisconsin and said he did such and such a time, and it was found out his time was an hour more.
Oh, my.
Oh, yeah, that was all over the news here.
The thing with Romney, with the Hispanics, too, I don't know how you missed that. He was invited, which was kind of unusual. He was invited to appear at the Latino, it's a media conference that they have of news organizations and people in the media and just folks that are out there. And he was videotaped and recorded by someone with a cell phone at a luncheon between his speaking appearances. And oh my goodness, to listen to him talk,
Really?
Oh, it was awful. It was just
No,
awful.
we never got that. We only got the 47% kind. But I mean, he's just a man completely out of touch, and he's from that Kabul, whether his family came from the Illuminati or not, I don't know. I don't know the Illuminati bloodlines that well, but because he's not a Rothschild, and he's not a Carnegie, and he's not a Rockefeller. But they're sort of all tied in together. But he was totally out of touch with most people in America, except old white men and married women.
And they didn't vote for him either. Apparently.
Well, I've heard that more unmarried women voted for him than married women.
I'm surprised, honestly, that any women voted for him with the things.
No, sorry,
that
I meant Obama.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I meant Obama. These are the statistics, you see, and he did eventually, I think, get the women's vote. Obama got 59% of the women's vote and Romney 43%. So, and in married women, Romney got 53% of the women and of married women, and Obama got 46% of married women.
Huh.
So that was interesting as a dynamic, and Obama got a lot of unmarried women, so 68%. So a lot of the unmarried American women must fancy him.
I guess so. He's had some of the highest approval ratings, too, of a president in decades. He really has done quite well.
Yeah, but I mean, I was terribly worried. I stayed up most of the night Tuesday.
I was
which
worried
for us
too.
is late.
I know a lot of people felt it was going to be a shoe-in, but I didn't, and I'm always on the lookout for tampering, for voter tampering, and I was looking for that to happen.
Well, it was all wide open. Yeah, wide open for voter tampering. And that's, I was so worried about that, but Florida didn't matter this time, fortunately.
I thought
with all due respect to Floridians, because he didn't need their electoral votes. But, Ohio, Pennsylvania, the swing states, Wisconsin, what happened in New Jersey, New York, with all the new balloting and new ballot papers, voting machines down, it was open to corruption, but apparently it wasn't.
I almost wondered if they thought they just really couldn't push it this time. Gore was not as popular as Obama has been. So I can see it would have been a little easier to try to take a victory from him than it might have been from one of the most popular men in U.S. history, at least a political figure. So very interesting. Right. So does it have any significance to Ireland that Obama is in office again now?
Oh, it means a lot to the Irish people. I mean, I don't know on a political level, on an international level, government to government, but certainly on a nationwide level, people here are thrilled that he's back in. And they were over the moon when he won 4 years ago. Really.
Great.
And that was before he ever came to Ireland. And when he came here, he won over people that, probably wouldn't have been his biggest fans before, but he just became irresistible. And they loved Michelle as well. A lot of the newspapers here focused on the fact that she was a big feature in the president being reelected.
I think that there's a lot to be said to that. Her campaign, she has, how the first ladies usually have powder puff projects that they do, and obviously she's doing hers with white gloves and a hat on, but she's doing a marvelous job, I think. Certainly not infuriating or just winning people over. Just right and left with common sense ideas that she, even her wardrobe choice is very common sense. She doesn't spend a lot of money. Now, the word is Hillary Clinton is going to retire, resign her position. I guess she gave notice of that some time ago, and she reiterated that in a article that Michael was touching on earlier in this broadcast. I know what fans of Clinton that Ireland is. So is there any reaction coming from her stepping down as a secretary?
I haven't heard any reaction, but I would imagine, that'll hit us next weekend, probably, maybe the weekend papers. But she's very well liked here. They played a huge role in Ireland, a role that there would have been no peace agreement without American participation, which would be both the Clintons and the Kennedys, both as ambassador and Senator Kennedy. So Ireland owes the Clintons a huge debt of gratitude. And then to have Obama come along and be Irish roots that can be well proven, unlike Reagan's genealogy, which nobody really knows if it was the truth or not. So they're delighted, and I think Europeans in general, whether the governments are delighted or not, I don't know. But certainly European people are delighted with Obama. They think he represents something totally new in America, which he does.
Mm-hmm. I think he does too.
And they do believe he can make a difference.
Well, he has. I mean, the charts that were being put out there is that he has had as significant a recovery as far as our deficit as Clinton had, and Clinton and Obama are the only two who have made significant headway in reducing the debt while in office, and now Obama's got another 4 years. Maybe he can bring that up even farther. I don't think anybody could get a solvent, but I think that maybe he might be able to help at least stave off disaster, because of course we're always waiting for disaster here.
Well, I know, and you shouldn't. Don't worry about disaster. I mean, I think now that he's got a good chance in the next 4 years to do a lot of things he might have felt more restrained about. Michael, there's a lot of talk here about lame duck presidencies. And I don't know, I mean, I think they start talking about lame duck even before he was reelected. Is that still, you see, I always see the second term as an opportunity to maybe throw off some of the shackles of the first term and the worry about reelection and go for some of the more principled goals that Obama held before he gained his first election.
Well, unfortunately, I have a very different opinion regarding this presidency. I mean, I'd like to state, to me, I wasn't for Romney nor Obama on this last election. To me, what's coming down the pike has little to do with who's in office, and that's contrary to what you've been saying. And of course, my opinion is just an opinion. We have to wait and see how this pans out. But my prediction is that now that he doesn't have to worry about being reelected, he can keep those promises that were caught on the mic to the Soviets when he was with the Russian Premier Vladimir Putin, saying, well, look, I can't do anything right now, but wait, let me get reelected here. And unfortunately, I have a very different viewpoint. I regard Obama as a collectivist. I suppose a simplified way to put that would be a communist, that he would be very much for turning America into a welfare state, that he just signing the NDAA, which authorizes American citizens to be indefinitely detained without any trial. I mean, that was just a foreshadowing of the utter horrible tyranny to come, and that Obama, in fact, is a wolf in sheep's clothing that has very much fooled a great portion of the world. And something new, I mean, you're looking at the surface when you look at Barack Obama. He matters little. The president doesn't run jack in this country. The power brokers that run the presidency actually pull the strings, always have pulled the strings, and the only job they have is to keep the moderate dissatisfaction at that level so that the people don't revolt. They don't want to revolt in this country, but apparently they do want to shake things up. They do want to attack our middle class. And now, please, let me emphasize that I think Romney would have done the same thing. It's just you would have got a different brand of it. I'm not for either one of this, but I have a slightly more pessimistic cynical view on this issue that the rest of the world's been fooled by Mr. Obama's prompt discussion and his ability to speak well to the people and reassure you that I can deliver lies to you and you'll believe them because I'm a black man. And if you call me or criticize me, I'm going to say you're racist. Because you're racist if you don't go along with me. But the next 4 years, you've got World War III looming over our heads. The stage is set just like World War I was set. It's inevitable, and it's designed, I insist, it's a contrivance. There isn't an actual World War III. It's just to jack up oil prices, put the final nails in the coffin, bring our economies to an utter collapse. It won't matter. We'll be standing in line for cheese and milk, and at that point, we won't be able to afford a protest sign, and things won't really matter. We're really going to have to wait and see, but unfortunately, I just don't share the same level of optimism. I hope you are correct, and that this is a good thing, and that I am entirely wrong and delusional. That would be more comforting for me.
No, Michael. Sad as it is for me to admit, I understand that viewpoint only too well. I was reflecting what I feel to be the viewpoints of the Irish people as best I can.
I see.
But I am well aware of the puppetry behind the presidency.
Sure, that it doesn't really matter either way, but...
No, you're right, it doesn't, but because I am still emotionally involved with America, I like to believe that for the next 4 years only, maybe, that he will be able to make a difference. But realistically, knowing what I know, I'm not as optimistic as I might think. You might think when I'm reflecting on other people's viewpoints.
No,
I'm very pessimistic about the American presidency. And, if you look back, there are historians now who will tell you that the last time there was a president who had power was President Kennedy. And ever since then, the power has been stripped away by the CIA, which is all over the news today. and the powers that be, whether it's from countries, whether it's the Bilderbergers, whether it's the other secret organizations, or the one out in California. What's the name of that one? Very strange Hollywood kind of name.
Not
where
sure.
they go every year with Kissinger. I mean, I know.
Oh,
these things
yes,
are-
Bohemian Grove.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, these things are all happening, and the only way out I can see is for more people to become more aware and more conscious of where the power is. And it's in the military-industrial complex that Eisenhower warned Americans about before he left office.
He sure did.
And it's in the corporations, and it's in Wall Street. And Obama's administration is full of Wall Street, and it's full of people who lobby for companies.
They received more campaign contributions from Wall Street than Mitt Romney did,
Yeah.
which is interesting. And the underlying rumor is that as we call them, definitely the old white men that actually have power in this country, or at least think they do, they're probably a tier or 2 or 3 steps down from the actual power structure. They're not happy with Obama for a couple of reasons. One, he didn't complete that Alaskan pipeline. 2, he's scheduled to close down 50% of our coal plants over the next 4 years here in this country. Well, you know what? 51% of our power, if I'm not mistaken, comes from coal plants. And, you know, it's nice to say, well, that's what we accomplished something for our environment. But what they're predicting is you're going to see a twofold increase in your power bills, your gas prices, fairly soon.
Right, but I mean, do you not sometimes, Michael, see the whole energy thing as more a smokescreen than the reality of resources? I mean, let's just say something happened and you know, the coal supplies weren't there. I mean, there are many other energy sources that the energy control people have taken out of patent or bought off patent, or scared people. I mean, there's all sorts of ways to run cars that don't include oil, or all sorts of things, including hemp.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I understand why people were upset about that, but to me, that's just a smokescreen around the whole energy thing, that's a problem that can be solved. And as people worried and concerned about natural resources, when first of all, there's still enough oil, and there isn't time to go into that, but as well as that, there are oil substitutes and energy substitutes that can easily be developed if the people who control the power of the energy would let go or be disemboweled.
Well, just like Proposition 37 getting shot down, clearly anybody, you know, any of the oil companies and coal companies, which are actually in competition with each other, they're going to throw money at it and try and make it stop. But I think the underlying problem is our economic model here in this country is based on infinite resources, that we can somehow have infinite growth through infinite resources. And quite frankly, we know that the resources are finite. And I agree with you that there is more oil out there than what they're telling us, just to keep the prices, you know, down. Russia has it. We have it. Yeah, it might be more. Canada might be more difficult to process, but
well, the point is, do we really even need the oil? I kind of understand what Mary's getting at. It's a smokescreen to think that we have to be oil dependent and this is a crisis. It's not, because we don't have to.
Right,
we have other choices. We're just choosing not to look at them.
The energy non-crisis, and we were discussing, Mary, earlier, just how it takes 7 gallons of oil just to make a tire. You know, in this country.
There you go. Yeah, and it's, you know, the whole tie-in with plastic as well. But listen, before we go, can I just say, a big congratulations to the state of Washington and the state of Colorado.
That was good news. That was good news.
For legalizing recreational marijuana. So
absolutely,
I hope they have a great time.
Yeah, actually,
and Massachusetts too, for legalizing medical marijuana.
Yes. I mean, that was wonderful news, and it's been well highlighted in all the Irish papers.
Well, we're not to Amsterdam yet.
No. By the way, Amsterdam are not closing down the coffee shops. That
Good.
was a rumor.
Yes.
My prediction is by the time we actually legalize recreational use here in Wisconsin, we'll be too broke to buy it. But that's just my
We'll
opinion.
be too dead to buy it, probably.
Too dead to buy it. Well, Mary, we are pulling up to the top of the hour. God, thank you for calling in. It's always good to hear your voice. Maybe you could call in next week, Friday.
I will if you like. Yes,
Oh,
let
always,
me know what you want to
always,
talk about.
Definitely. Oh, there's always so much to talk about. It's like throwing a dart on a board, isn't it?
Yeah,
Anything you get is worth talking about.
Yeah.
So,
Well, listen, I send you both my regards, and thanks for a wonderful chat.
Thank you for joining
Mary.
us.
We love you.
Okay,
Take care, hon.
bye-bye from Ireland. Good night from Ireland.
Thank you.
It is now Saturday morning in Ireland.
Okay, so the future
12
looks
o'clock
good.
midnight. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, the future's so bright, I gotta wear shades. Yeah, I just cut off my mic instead of the phone mic.
Okay.
All right, well, Caitlin, we got like 30 seconds. I mean, if you want to say anything or now or ever hold your peace.
I think that we have a lot of news we didn't get a chance to cover. So we're
yeah.
going to have to cover some Friday. We got a lot of stuff, folks. We'll be at Dan's, I believe. Michael, are you attending the Dan thing tomorrow?
I'm pretty damn sure I'm attending
Okay.
the Dan thing tomorrow.
All right, I'm pretty darn sure.
I'm pretty damn sure.
Pretty
I
damn
really
sure.
want to go out there and meet him. I do, and it's all kind of a schedule permitting kind of thing. But I got a definite maybe, and I can't say I got anything better to do. But you know, it's
Well,
kind
I've
of with
committed to
family.
going, so.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you are, and I want to thank you because Caitlin's been doing a lot of work behind the scenes, organizing with him and getting in contact with people like Mary and all sorts. There was some other news that she had, and
Proposition 168.
168.
Talk about that next week.
Oh, that'll be an ongoing issue, and
Yeah, well.
definitely. But it's just been a lot of good work here, and look, we're doing our best here. Whatever we do here, sometimes I wonder. I wish, we'd get some callers, local callers sometimes.
Oh, we'll
but-
get them.
Yeah, we'll get them. I was hoping to hear other people's opinions on the country's re-elections, and but please, the number to call in the future it's always posted on riverwestradio.com, and just in case you lose it, 414-935-2951. And I guess for now, we're going to pull out of here, and don't worry, the news never stops. It
No,
just
it
keeps
doesn't.
going, and that's why we'll be back next Friday. Take care, America,
Have a good weekend.
and the rest of the world.